Next guest is a Providence-based composer who is going to be doing a production of his new original piece called Queen Boudicca, a metal opera. And there's a couple of cool things about this next guest. Happens to be my dad. So there's that. And also, I happen to be playing the lead role in the show at the Providence Fringe Festival that will be coming up at the end of July. And I'm super excited to have him here on the show. Let's welcome Bob Schlink. Hey, Dad.
Hi. Hi,
This is my dad.
Ms. Ava Boudicca.
Yes. Oh, thanks so much for coming on the show. I was really excited
You're
to
welcome.
have you on and talk about Queen Boudicca. We are, as I said, going to be doing the Providence Fringe Festival. We've put up the show a couple of other times, and really excited to be doing it again. So tell us a little bit about this show. So it is Queen Boudicca, a metal opera. It is heavy metal music, and it's telling the story of Queen Boudicca, who's a historic figure that people may or may not know too much about. So what inspired you to write this show?
Well, actually, I was working on an album with your brother.
Who's also a musician.
Another Robert Schlink, yes. And it was Celtic-influenced metal. And he asked me to write something for it. And I happened to be watching television. I'm watching the History Network. And, there was a documentary about Boudicca. I had never heard of her.
Yeah,
I
had never heard of her either.
Yeah, I was totally stunned that this story was something that I didn't know, and then nobody that I was close to ever knew.
Yeah.
And it is an amazing tale of courage, and like we say in our promo material, probably everybody would know about it if she were a man, but the historians were all they were definitely male focused, especially in those days in Rome.
Yeah.
But so I wrote something for Rob's record. It never ended up getting on. But
On the cutting room floor.
Right.
Too bad.
But it just stuck in my mind, and I just kept coming back to it and expanding it. Finally, said I felt almost compelled to tell this story, to write it. And you asked about metal.
Yeah.
You mentioned that it's substantially metal, although it's not the only thing that's in it.
Musically speaking, yeah.
Well, I thought that was a great type of style to tell this kind of violent story. I mean, the violence that those people live with every day is something that most of us will never experience.
Thankfully.
One would hope, anyway.
Hopefully, yeah.
Yes. Yes. So it basically expanded until finally I decided to actually put it on as an opera.
Yeah.
And I define opera more as a piece that a dramatic piece where most of the action is promoted by the music, by song,
Right.
rather than by lines.
Right. The way Jesus Christ Superstar is a rock opera, this is a metal opera being told primarily with metal, some Celtic influence, some choral stuff going on, but mostly music, some lines here and there, but that is how the story is told.
Well, opera goes back centuries, and this piece goes back centuries. I mean, this story dates back to 62 A.D. Almost 2,000 years ago. It's a story of courage that has lasted for 2,000 years, but not enough people know about it.
Yeah.
And I think it's just an amazing story, and it should be brought to a greater audience.
Right.
And I hope we can do it.
I hope so too. I mean, obviously, I'm a little biased. I'm involved. I've been playing the role of Boudicca in the last productions, and I think it's an incredible piece. And the story is amazing. Without any spoilers, you have to go check out the show yourself. But she was just a queen, like a normal woman who had her husband and her family, and he dies, and the Romans decide they're going to take this opportunity and they're going to try to take over, and they do some horrible, horrible things, and she decides that she's not going to stand for it. And again, like you were talking about her courage, I mean, this is just like a normal person like you or I deciding, like, I'm gonna fight a war, and I'm gonna have an army. It's really a crazy story and incredible music. Let's talk a little bit about the music. So obviously, this is a metal opera, so there's lots of metal, and it's like real metal. So you metalheads out there, if you're watching, you should really go check it out. I mean, this is the real deal. There's like death metal growls and just some like amazing stuff going on musically. And so talk to us a little bit about like kind of the scope of the type of music in the show.
The fact is that it is legit metal.
Mm-hmm.
The stuff that I've been teaching the metal ensembles at Berkeley, and I was
Right.
I was the only ensemble teacher teaching metal ensembles.
You've been
until
a
very
faculty
recently.
member at Berklee College of Music in Boston for many, many years. And,
Yes, exactly.
So yeah, you've been teaching a metal ensemble, giving
Well,
the metalheads finally an outlet at a school.
In the situation with many of my students, I think they taught me as much as I ever taught them. But I am acquainted with what is legit metal,
Yeah.
and because I have taught people that have become like major stars in that venue,
Mhm.
and there are many local stars too.
Right.
I really do think it's legit, but I also have much different interests than just metal. I mean, much of the music is influenced by my take on Messiaen or Samuel Barber or Bartok or Alban Berg. Composers that are not usually associated with metal music. That's for sure.
Or operas, for that matter.
Well, actually, Berg wrote a couple of operas. So he wrote, some of the most important 20th century operas. You're absolutely right.
So the thing about the show too is it's a modern telling of an ancient story. So there are some ancient elements. You actually recreated, I should say,
Yes.
some ancient instruments that you literally made, like with wood and pipes and stuff, and they're actually played in the show, like as a real instrument. There was a Carnac, which you can tell us about, and a Warrior's Lyra. Tell us about these instruments, what we can see when we come to see the show. When we're like, what the heck is that thing? This is what it is.
I wish I had one today. I wish I had both of them today.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Let's start with the Warrior's Lyra. I was doing a little bit of research about, because I didn't know much about Boudicca, and I didn't know much about her culture and where she came from. So I started to do a little bit of research, and I saw, that these instruments, these lyra instrument or lyre, it's L-Y-R-E.
Mm-hmm.
They were commonly used during that time. And I thought, because it is a frame harp, so I thought it was like, the way the angels play, right?
Yeah, right.
That was the common way to play it. And, they did do that. They did finger pick it. But they also stopped out the strings by sticking their hand through the back and then strummed it with a pick. And as soon as I heard that, I said, I have to have one of these things in my piece, because this is the great granddaddy of the folk guitar style and the metal or rock styles. Yeah. So I thought it was, I absolutely had to have one. And of course I couldn't afford it because I'm doing all this, stuff.
To buy a real one.
Yeah, I couldn't afford to just buy one.
I'm sure.
So, I used my woodworking skills. And
you made your own, of course,
I made one.
because that's what you do, right?
Right. And, and then the Carnac's war trumpet is absolutely amazing. event in the piece.
Yeah.
It's
very cool.
It's 6 feet tall, and it has a head shaped like a wild boar, which the ancient Celts referred to as a torque. A wild boar was a torque.
Yeah.
So during the torques of war, they come out and they're they're just awesome. Totally
They are awesome.
Yes.
I can say
They have
I've
mohawks.
seen it, and they have mohawks.
Right.
Pretty metal
It
of
is very
them
metal.
to have mohawks. Yeah. So the first time that you performed the show was actually at Berklee College of Music. You used a lot of your students. You used a lot of your students from the metal ensemble, who you already knew were amazing players, who are in their own metal bands that are out touring and recording. And these are musicians that are not only really good at what they do, but they're out there playing this music. This is what they're going to be doing with their career.
Yes.
And you got to kind of do it in an educational setting. Did you like doing it that way? Do you want to continue doing that? How is that?
I love working with my students. I mean, I think they're so passionate and they have such great energy and they have such enormous talent. I love it. I loved putting that piece on at Berklee,
Mm-hmm.
and it felt like a great compliment that they liked it so much, that they that they enjoyed being in it. Many of them are still in it.
Yes.
And so you're back for a stint, and so was Adrian Cowan who's from Seven Spires, and Heidi Rosari
Right.
from Averst and many other bands, and
Who we should say, in the Providence Fringe Festival, which is going to be at the end of July 29th, I will be playing Boudicca in the Thursday performance, and then Heidi is actually going to be playing Boudicca in the Saturday night performance. And again, she's been with the project from day one. Super talented, really exciting for her to be able to play the role, and she's going to be all over this show.
and Eddie Schiffler too.
Yeah,
he's a vet.
Yeah,
He's
exactly.
He's been there since the BPC, and he's an awesome, member of the cast.
yeah. I think that was the cool thing about that particular production at Berklee, and we've done it another time since then, using kind of maybe non-students or professional musicians, and they are amazingly talented to the point where if we did hold professional auditions, we would have hired them anyway. They are just super talented.
And so, I've been working at Berklee for many, many years, and I'm very proud of that place. I mean, we graduate more successful musicians that in these kind of styles, especially, and rock and pop and jazz and you name it, right? And we graduate more successful people than any other institution in the world. And so they get good training, man. That's for sure.
Absolutely.
The cream of the crop they're very, very good musicians.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So, obviously, Fringe Fest. What's next after Fringe Fest this summer for Queen Boudicca? Queen Boudicca a metal opera. I can't speak today. I'm having trouble speaking words.
I thought maybe I'd call it a medical opera.
A medical opera.
Yeah, because
that's a whole other show.
Would put me in the hospital, or a mental opera.
A mental opera is good too.
I would lose my mind. But anyway. Yeah, but we're doing the Regent Theater in Arlington, Mass, in October.
In October, cool.
And we just acquired a booking agent who's going to be working with us, and we're also working on a recording.
Great.
Studio recording.
Yeah.
We have a bunch of live things that we have on the internet and SoundCloud, but we wanted to get a real studio recording.
Yeah.
And after that, I just want to take it as far as I can possibly take it. I want to go on the road. As you said, colleges. I would love to go to other colleges and have them participate using their choir. and using their orchestra, their strings and woodwinds and things like that. And it'd be great.
Yeah.
It'd be a great thing for us.
Absolutely. There are so many possibilities with it. It's a really cool, it's not only just well written, but it's so unique. It's basically heavy metal musical. People haven't really seen this kind of thing before, and definitely a space for it, I think, in the industry.
I certainly hope so.
So we're going to perform a song from the show. This is not one of the more like super crazy metal pieces because it is acoustic here in the Navigant Credit
Boudicca
Union.
Unplugged,
yeah, exactly. So tell us a little bit about what's happening in the show when this song's performed. The song is called Follow Me. What's happening in the show at this time?
Well, and as you said, a lot of bad things happen to Boudicca and her daughters, and the Iceni in general. They basically got ripped off by the Romans again, and so they decided that they're not going to take it. And after a bunch of soul searching, Boudicca decides that she is the one to lead not only her Iceni tribe, but all of them, all of the Celtic tribes in a rebellion against the Romans. And in this tune, she's asking them to follow her.
Okay. Well, here it is. Bob Schlink. We're going to perform Follow Me from Queen Boudicca, a metal opera. We have tried appeasement, we have tried cooperation. What is our reward for this? Only more death and destruction. They mean to subsume us, they mean to enslave our people, dogs to lick their sandals. This is how they mean to treat us. Who is there among you cannot see the master plan to bring the proud Iceni to their knees? But I will not kneel, I bow before no mortal man. I'll stand and fight alone if there is no other way. Choice is all of yours now. Will you follow me? Will you follow me? Hey, thanks, guys. They liked it. Thank you so much again for being here. Bob Schlink, creator of Queen Boudicca, a metal opera. Hey, t-shirts are available on the website if you want to check it out, queenboudiccametalopera.com. And come see the show at the Providence Fringe Festival, July 27th and 29th at 10 p.m. at the Waterfire Center for the Arts. We hope to see you there. Thank you so much for being on the show. We're going to take a selfie too.
Okay.
I mean, I can take a selfie anytime with my dad, but this is special. Okay.